Welcome back to Let That Shit Go, where we let go of anything that doesn't serve our highest self. I'm your host, Gianna. I'm a certified life coach and Reiki healer, and I have a very special guest for you guys today. So please welcome Mary.
Hey, hey, I'm so happy to be here and thank you for having me on the podcast. So, I am a feminine embodiment coach. I guide women who are heavily in their masculine energy, which means you're Miss Independent, you're the hustler, you're the go-getter, you're the giver, you're the woman who's got this. And what I do is shift you into your feminine energy so you can learn how to receive, so you can learn how to embody more of a magnetic presence, knowing how good it feels when people are caring for you. And so I mainly work with single women who want to attract love, but also women in general who feel guided to this work, and I get to help them shift into their feminine energy.
Yeah. So powerful. I actually met Mary on a business retreat in the Mayan jungle of all places. She introduced herself as this feminine embodiment coach, and I'm like, what the heck is that? What does that even mean? Do you remember when we first met? Like anything about my energy or
It's so crazy because literally I forgot that we met on that retreat
oh
until
my
you said
God, dude.
that. I
Yeah,
was like,
like
oh yeah, that's how we met. Duh. Um, I remember I literally remember the exact moment I saw you. I was like drawn to sit next to you. You were sitting with another retreat member and you guys were talking, and I just went over, sat down. I hadn't met you at that point, and I just remembered being like drawn to your energy because it was like I could sense it. I'm like, ooh, this girl's like deep, and but I could feel some walls and layers. But as our conversation and as we started talking a little bit more, I could feel them coming down. But yeah, I remember seeing you and just sitting next to you and having a conversation. And
yeah.
yeah, that's so crazy that we met on the retreat.
It feels like a dream ago. That was really something that started such a transformational period for me. I just remember seeing you. I mean, let's face it, it was gross and muggy and, buggy and everything. And you had your hair done, your makeup was all done, you were all dressed up. And I was like, damn, this girl is bougie and badass. Yeah, so like I was drawn to that part of you because I think you mirrored that in me of a part of myself that I always tried to bring out and feel strong and powerful. But I just really remember being so unsure in my business, being so unsure in relationships. I was in full control mode over everything, if you remember.
Yeah.
And that was my survival instinct, but it's cool because of how relatable everything we've talked about, or even all of your posts on Instagram. I remember just being like, I feel like you're talking to me
Mm.
directly. And so being in that control mode, I did everything in my relationships. I felt like I had to save all my partners. I lacked that trust, that surrender. I felt uncomfortable with receiving, so I would push everything away and having that anxious attachment to my business. I feel like so many women can relate to this, and I just want to ask you, why do you think that so many women get stuck in control mode?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, I think so many women get stuck in it because, well, one, it usually stems back to childhood. Well, it always stems back to childhood. Maybe your parents weren't around as much as a kid. And you could have had an amazing childhood, right? I've worked with women who were like,
Yeah.
oh, my childhood was amazing. But as kids, our subconscious mind is cracked open. So we're creating beliefs and meanings about things. So it's usually stems from childhood that maybe we didn't get our emotional needs met, maybe our physical needs met, and we carry that with us. And a lot of us, even in society, it's the way that things have shifted. It's
Mm.
women, we feel this need to prove ourselves,
Oh.
work hard, show that we can make just as much money as men. And I'm all about making more money than men. Like, hell yeah. because that allows them to raise their standards to meet us where we're at. But when it's coming from a place of proving,
Mm,
um, it's we have to look at what is driving this, and it usually is this need for it to be in control because
yeah.
we don't necessarily feel safe with who we are as a woman. There's a lot of women that I work with that have such this beautiful bright light, but
Mm,
they're scared to shine it and share it with the world. So they dim their light because they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't know how to speak their truth. They don't know how to communicate. So it's easier to, we think control is giving us a sense of safety and being in control, but what it's really doing is just pushing things away and further growing this deeper belief that we're holding on to that maybe we don't feel safe or we have to prove ourselves.
yeah, a lot about safety, right? I think a lot of women feel like they have to protect their energy, protect their softness. So we become really hard on the outside. And in some cases, that's really useful, right? We have survival mode for a reason, but when
Mm.
it's all the time and we don't know how to shut it off, or we're trying to attract a partner, I'm curious, with some of the, I guess either or for single women or for women in relationships, how do you notice that dynamic show up for them if they're in this control mode?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So whether you're single or in a relationship, it's pretty similar. It's this need that I got this, I can do it. I don't want to show that I'm weak or I'm not independent. And it's what happens here is we don't realize it that where this need for control is we're caring so much about what people think about us or how they perceive us.
Mm,
And so in relationships or if you're single, it's really this independent, Miss Independent, I got this, I'm good, which again I'm all about,
yeah.
but it's coming from an unhealthy place, not a healthy independence, because there is this deep need to control. So,
Oh
um,
yeah.
specifically, it can look like really struggling to let go into the unknown. You might find that you need to ask a million questions. You know, if you and your partner are going somewhere and you're asking, well, oh, okay, well, what about, this thing and that thing? And it's like, let go,
Yeah.
let yourself surrender into the unknown. If
Hmm.
you're single, it might look like you feeling like you need to prove yourself, so you're like, I'll pay for the dates,
Mm,
um and which I am so not about. I'm about being in your feminine energy and receiving. So
yes.
it's looking for these micro things where these little patterns, and that, but this is how it shows up in relationships.
Wow, I feel like you've just triggered me as well.
Good.
Yeah, and obviously sometimes we fall back into these patterns too because they're automatic, or again, it's that need for safety, that need for control. And I mean, letting go and letting flow sounds so easy, right? And it does, it is easy. It can be to just let things come out the way that they are intended to rather than constantly trying to force or fix or prove. Yeah, I've definitely been someone that like I've had to pay for everything or I've planned the dates. And I know one of the things that I've seen you post is unapologetically being like, let the man pay. Don't pull out your wallet. He needs to take care of the bill, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so in full belief around that. And it's funny, I have a post that's getting a lot of hate right now. And it's me with my boyfriend talking about how he liked that on the first date, I would be walking to the door. If I happened to be in front, I would
Mhm.
stop, look at him, wait for him to open it because that's just how I am. But I don't care because I know I was so on the other end of where I'm at
Right.
right now, where I was hyper independent, didn't want to seem weak, tried to prove myself until I realized what's possible. And I'm like, oh my God, my normal isn't her normal. Her normal is so different. Like, I want that. So it's a slow progression to see actually
Right.
what is possible.
Yeah, and it's not that we can't open the door for ourselves or we can't pay the bill.
Exactly.
Like, it's not about that at all, right? And of course, when you're dating someone, of course, it's okay to pick up the tab or whatever here and there, maybe, maybe not for some people. It's more about stepping into that feminine and letting the man step into his masculine. And so I'd love to talk about what those energies are. Like, what does that even mean, masculine and feminine energy? I loved the way that you've explained it to me of how it's both the yin and the yang. You know, these energies balance each other out, but I would love to hear more of your description of that.
Yeah. So as humans, every single person on this earth has both masculine energy and feminine energy. And there's many, many different ways to describe it. If I like to look at it, if you go way back when, and look at it from, okay, males, they were always known to be the hunters. Women,
Yeah.
we were to be the gatherers. And so if you take and look at it, but also on a biological level of, okay, men versus women, men are very direct. They're very logical. They're very like focus on one thing at a time, get it done. They're the action takers.
Yeah.
Where women, we are our brain, our mind, our body is more wired to be intuitive, have this beautiful imagination, creativity, and that's where we are more in flow. We're more of a multitasker. Now, I know I'm explaining on a man versus women way,
Sure.
but it's not usually defined men versus women, but I'm only describing
Yes.
it this way because we're going to talk about what that looks like in a relationship and having polarity, which I'll get to in a second. But in general, because all humans, we have both masculine energy and feminine energy. So our masculine,
Mm-hmm.
that is that logic, that is that direct, that is that action taking, where
Mm-hmm.
the feminine balances that out. That feminine is this creativity. The feminine is what's giving the masculine these ideas to then take the action. The feminine is this intuition that's saying, hey, something feels off, so that the masculine logic can say, okay, that feels off. What can we do about it?
Right.
So it's this beautiful balance between the
Mm-hmm.
two, which is known as energetic polarity. Energetic polarity is when we both, as humans, have our healthy masculine energy in balance and our feminine energy in balance. Now, as women, it's important that we need to be grounded
Mm-hmm.
in our masculine energy. We absolutely need both. So that's why I'm very big when you come into my world. It's not just like forget your masculine and go into your feminine. And one thing I always say is you can't shift into your feminine energy or embody it or lead in it until you've healed your masculine, because that's what's
Mm-hmm.
keeping you grounded and safe and also protected
Yeah.
so that the feminine can then go out and be creative and move and flow. So we have to first create that healthy polarity within
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And then what it looks like in a relationship is you want that healthy polarity. It's very hard for a relationship to nourish both people if the man is maybe super in his masculine and the woman is
Mm-hmm.
super in her masculine, or even vice versa. Maybe you're dating a man who's too much in his feminine and you might be too much in your feminine.
Yeah.
It's not going to balance each other out or create this beautiful harmony that we're meant to do. So really when you're creating this healthy polarity, and as a woman in a relationship is um, doing the work on yourself to create that healthy masculine energy so that you can shift into your feminine energy, which we get to raise our standards and rise up,
Mm-hmm.
and then allow the men, if we're in a relationship, to rise up with us, because now that we're not trying to prove ourselves, we're allowing them to take charge and step into their masculine energy, which actually, even on a biological level, is raising their testosterone. It's giving them dopamine hits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also allowing things to work in harmony. And so we get to then soften and really be this intuitive, creative, and playful being.
Yeah. And I love that you hit that from all angles too. It's not just gender roles, it's biologically. Right. And guys' brains just work completely different than ours, you know? And
They do. They
and
do.
I know on like a guy's side too, they're like, oh, I can't read your mind. But women, because we are so intuitive, we can kind of read minds a little bit. Not literally, but we pick up on things so much easier, all the little stuff, right? But guys are typically more in that logical, state of mind. That's why when, if you're getting emotional and like you're needing that support from your partner, they start giving you solutions and you're like, that's not what I want right now, right? I need you to
Yes.
comfort me or whatever. And you know what? It's silly and it's funny, but like that is the healthy, typical dynamic. Yeah.
Exactly. I love what you added there. It's not about gender roles.
Yeah.
I know that even what we're talking about can trigger a lot of people because
Hmm.
even what it might be triggering is what's been taught to you. And like
Hmm.
trigger coming up is probably a good thing because you get to shift what you think you're supposed to be mad at or be blocked around.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what those gender roles are. It's about really getting clear on what's important for you.
Mm.
So what's important for me is, especially when I'm in a relationship, and if you're listening to this, whether you're single or in a relationship, is to feel safe,
Mm.
is to feel if I'm not at my best self, my partner is there and he's going to help uplift me and be supportive and
Yeah.
not tear me down and not drag me down either. So really at the end of the day, there are so many different angles to look at it, and that's why I like to bring all these different varieties. But what it truly comes down to is what is important for you on an energetic level, a biological level, based off of us as human beings, how we've evolved. This has been the standard.
Yeah, and I love how you also point out why we need both. We can't be overly in our feminine either, or overly in our masculine for both sides of the relationship, right? And I wanted to ask too, like some of the self-limiting beliefs or misconceptions about masculine and feminine energy. I know when we first started, I used to say that I thought that feminine energy was weak, or it's like giving your power away. You're vulnerable. And maybe with the masculine, I know a lot of people see it as, oh, masculine energy, that's toxic masculinity, right? But no, masculine energy in its divine state, like divine masculine energy, is the complete opposite of toxic masculinity. It's not ego driven, right? It's that support, that providing, the logic. So let's try and debunk some of those negative, unhelpful
Mm.
beliefs around these
I
energies.
love that. Yeah, I love that. A lot of the times when I'm talking about masculine, feminine energy, I have to speak to my clients and say healthy masculine
Yes.
energy. Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
But also another client was like, Mary, can you say healthy masculine energy when you're talking about it? And
Mm,
I'm like, yes, thank you for saying that because they've been so used to maybe thinking masculine energy is this control,
mm,
this like you're doing it my way, which maybe you learn that somewhere in childhood from a father figure, a masculine figure. Um, so that's unhealthy masculine energy because unhealthy masculine energy is, yeah, someone controlling from their own ego, from them wanting to get something, where healthy masculine energy is you working together as a team. So that's one, debunk that because I think a
yeah.
lot of people look at masculine energy from this unhealed, unhealthy place.
Yeah.
And a beautiful thing about the feminine energy that I was right there with you, Gianna, where I thought it's weakness.
Yeah.
I love my independence. I thrived heavily in my masculine energy, and I still do, but my feminine leads. Even personal example of something recently that came up for me because it's always an ongoing journey was recently I broke down to my boyfriend. I said,
Mm,
I'm not feeling good physically. I'm going through some like chronic fatigue, autoimmune stuff. And he had no idea. And he's like, you should come off so strong and like you have this all together. And it dawned on me, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to shift this because I'm thinking like I got this, let's go, keep it all together. And then it finally broke down. I'm like, oh, I don't have to like have this all together. I don't
yeah.
have to be perfect. I don't have to come across this way. and felt so much better having that breakthrough.
Right.
So I share that for the people listening who feel like you don't want to maybe show a vulnerable side of you because you're scared of coming across weak.
Mm.
But I would argue that that vulnerable side is going to be the thing to either one, connect you deeper with that person,
Oh my God,
or
yeah.
two, show you who that person really is. Because if you're vulnerable with somebody and they take
Mhm.
that for granted, that's a red flag. Right. So I
Absolutely.
think vulnerability is such a beautiful way to either deeply connect with a human or realize, okay, this isn't the type of connection that I thought it really was, and figure out what you need to do from there.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's important to reiterate that this is also for men too, for men stepping into their feminine. They don't have to hold it all together all the time either. I was actually surprised. I work with more male clients than
Mm,
women. And, that was really interesting to me when I first started out. And I'm really, really grateful for it because I feel like it's important that we help to heal them as well so that they can also create that safety and for their partners and for women. So
yeah.
yeah, if there's any guys listening to this is for you too.
It is for you because that's like we love an emotionally available man.
Yes.
If you aren't,
Yes.
and that's how you get there as a man, is you have to, you as also as a man, you might be in your masculine, but it's important to connect to your feminine energy,
Yeah.
especially if you want to be in a relationship, because when us as women, we're emotional beings, especially if we're in our feminine, we're coming to you crying, breaking down, we need you to just hold that space and
Mhm.
just meet us where we're at, and so that we can feel that, okay, maybe he doesn't necessarily understand, but he's here with me. And the only way that for a man to be able to do that is also for him to be in tune with his feminine side.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to maybe see like what does that look like? If it's not a weakness, if it's not give it to everybody, share your vulnerability all of the time with everyone, right? Because obviously that's not safe. I can share a few things that have definitely shifted for me was allowing myself to receive without feeling that shame or that guilt. A
Yeah.
lot of the feminine is, you taught me this, it's a lot about receiving. I showed up in my business a lot differently. I was able to kind of bring that nice little balance in here of the structure and being very direct with clients and having that structure, but also I allow myself to be open and vulnerable, just like we're doing right now. Having this podcast was something really uncomfortable for me. We were just talking about this. So that's definitely shifted. You've also mentioned how we can step into flow and step into our artistic creativity. So when I'm in my feminine, I feel like I'm able to create things more within my business or even just little hobbies, things that I used to enjoy. So stepping into that and also that intuition, right? Being able to trust yourself is a huge thing. And I think that's why a lot of women cling to the masculine of the control because
Mhm.
they don't trust themselves because we were kind of taught not to listen to that voice. It's, oh,
Mhm.
well, that's crazy. Or like, what's the evidence that backs that up? Right. But through, having to use my discernment with certain clients or certain friendships, relationships, I was able to, back out of things that did not make me feel comfortable and did not make me feel safe.
Mhm.
And, from an outside point of view, people were like, I don't understand. Like, you should just put up with it. There's nothing seems off. What are the facts, right? But if you have that gut feeling, it's there for a reason.
Uh, yes. I love how you put that. So true. It's like really about being able to trust yourself so much that,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe when the logical mind's like, no, everything's fine, or even the people around you, and
Right.
you're like, no, I trust myself so much that I don't even need one little proof of evidence to listen to my
Absolutely.
gut. You just go for it.
Mhm. Yeah. So other ways of being able to step into that feminine, what does that maybe look like for other clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, well, big thing that you mentioned for you, which was huge and which is huge for me, for a lot of my clients, is receiving.
Mm,
Being one, being a receiver, being open to
Yeah,
receiving, and two, being an embodied, powerful receiver. And I'll explain what that means,
love that.
which one, if you're listening to this, this is something you can take with you and practice after this podcast is how are you when you are receiving? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like if you're receiving something now in your head, you're like, okay, they gave me this, so I have to top that next time to like show that we're good friends or etc. And even it comes down to you can notice how when people compliment you,
Mm,
does that make you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like you downplay it? Or you like, oh, I just got this on Amazon. It was like $20. I'll send you the link. And this is a
mm,
big block that I
yeah.
want you to see how you are doing this in your life, because how you get to shift that is one, practice welcoming that in, really bringing that into your body, into your heart, so that you can, yeah, take up that space. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And really receive the compliments when somebody wants to buy your lunch for you and you're like, no, 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 I got it. Don't do that. Just say, oh my God, thank you so much. That
Yeah.
is so sweet. I really enjoyed our time together and like, thank you. And so what you're going to see also what I'm doing here is explain this with Gianna is the second part, which is becoming a powerful receiver. So you can hear and feel my
Mm,
gratitude in receiving. And
yeah.
so what happens is the universe, God, the person that you're with is like, wow, man, I like really made Mary's day. That felt really good.
Yeah.
And so how I even argue is actually when you are receiving, you're actually the giver. And the person who's giving is actually receiving.
Wow.
Because think about, yeah, when you've complimented a random stranger on the street, oh, I like your dress. And she's like, oh my,
You're
and
so
you're like,
right.
you feel incredible because you're like, I just made that girl's day.
Mm,
And then you feel so lit up. And then, it makes you want to give more. You want to compliment the next stranger and then the next one and then the next one.
absolutely.
And so that's why I would argue that even when you're giving, you're receiving. So when you're receiving, you're actually giving. And
Mm,
why this is so powerful, because especially, women, or if you're a guy listening to this, it can be hard to receive because we might feel guilty. We might feel like we have to give back. But it's really about allowing ourselves to know that we and our energy is so powerful that the more that we're able to receive in a grateful way, that we're actually putting that back out there into the universe. And what we put out there is what we bring back. So
mm,
to really embody that feminine energy, that's one way I would start to really notice how you are receiving and starting to break some of those patterns, because that control pattern of, oh, they gave me this, so now I got to make sure I do this back. Let that shit go. Right, like the podcast,
yes.
let that thought go. So that you can start to notice, yeah, what patterns and thoughts come up. Maybe it's uncomfortable for you to be complimented, and let that go and welcome
Mm,
it, starting to feel good, starting it to feel safe so that you can receive and draw in more.
that is so beautifully said. And almost want to bring up one of the other techniques you've taught me about the mirroring. So if something is making us uncomfortable or we feel resistance to that, it's probably because we're lacking that. You were saying if receiving compliments makes you uncomfortable, it's probably because you're really lacking that or you're resisting that. And that's not a bad thing. It's not receiving compliments is a bad thing. It's just you have these other beliefs stemming from childhood or past relationships, experiences where you were taught that being complimented is a negative thing, right? I always try to get my clients to like be in that main character energy of course they're gonna compliment me. Like I'm awesome, right? Like hell yeah. I had this client be like, oh, not to toot my own horn. I'm like, toot that horn, say it out
Yes.
loud. Like, what is so wrong about thinking that you're great or thinking that another person is going to also share that belief that you are great and wonderful, right? Let's let that shit go. of like trying to dim ourselves, trying to put ourselves down, because what does that even do? It doesn't do anything for the other person, and it definitely doesn't do anything for us either.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that. It's so well said of like, yeah, let's think highly of ourselves and let that be normal. Like imagine if everybody did think highly of themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, coming back to like how we can start to put these things into practice, how we can start to practice bringing out that feminine energy. I know you mentioned practicing receiving, but what are some maybe like 2 to 3 things that people can do daily to just reconnect with that feminine energy?
Yeah. So one thing that I want you, if you're listening to this and you're resonating with it, to try on is something I do like all day. And what you're going to do is if you are walking into a coffee shop or a new place, you're at a restaurant, and I like really have to train myself even when like the hostess is walking in front and to like not walk at her speed. Because what you're gonna do is I want you to walk slower, like walk slow as if you're owning the room. You're taking your time, you're not rushing, you're composed.
Mhm.
And so what this is doing, because also about being in your feminine energy, is it is about slowing down.
Mm.
And I think a lot to go back to maybe some of the limiting beliefs, a lot of people don't want to slow down. They're like, I don't like I thought before I did knew about all this work, I thought feminine energy was like sitting around all day. And I'm like, I don't want time for that. I like to do things.
Right.
And it's not necessarily even so much. Yes, it is about slowing down, but it's about being fully present,
Mm.
really connecting to the energy of what is around you, what is going on, feeling really good about that. And so when you are walking at a slower pace, what this is also signaling within your body, within your mind to the people around you is you're confident, you're present, you're composed because like nothing is going to rattle or startle you because you are in deeply in that present moment. And so from a feminine energy standpoint, this is one allowing you to slow down, this is you not being afraid to take up space, to own the room, to be magnetic. And you might find when you first try this, it's really uncomfortable. It can be very uncomfortable, especially if you're like used to like go, 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 go. And you're slowing down and you're like, wait, I feel weird. I feel awkward that I'm walking this slow. But what I want you to do is stand up high and tall, have a soft, like face and really own that confidence, own that room. So you can try that when you're, like I said, going to a coffee shop. Another thing that you can do is when you're going, we talked a lot about receiving, when you're going, walking up to the door, and maybe you're walking up at the same speed as somebody,
Yeah.
slow down. I know Gianna loves this one. Slow down, let that person open it for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're both staring at each other, you ask them, oh, would you mind opening that for me? Allow yourself to be received. Allow, asking for help, asking for support. That is feminine energy. And even I know this is another one that Gianna loves, which is what I teach is the eye gazing
Mm.
technique. This one you should only really do if you have strong boundaries, especially if you're a single woman, because people will come up to you, but also I find this super helpful even just when I'm out walking, and maybe I'm in a like an area that I feel a little bit uncomfortable in, is what you're doing is when what I do this a lot in my day to day, is if I lock eyes with somebody, I don't look away until they look away.
Yeah.
And again, this might be very uncomfortable, but it's such a powerful technique because what this is doing is you are owning your frame, you are owning who you are. Um, and you're not afraid of anybody. You are fully embodied in being comfortable with who you are, confident. So you have to know how to set boundaries, but I also find it very powerful when you are feeling safe or uncomfortable. Like if I find that I'm in an uncomfortable situation, like I make it known that I am like eyeing you up and down, like I'm not afraid of you.
I love
um So,
RBF
but
is
it's
great.
what's that?
That RBF, that resting bitch face, that is a survival
Yeah.
technique.
Yes, and it's even like, I'm kind of like a little bit against resting bitch face, but it's more of a neutral face. It's more of just like
Got
I'm
you.
owning how I look, because
Hmm.
like you can eye to eye somebody and it might be somebody innocent and you might just like smile at them and they
Yeah.
might be like, oh, cool, like she smiled at me and they might look away. But it's more so like the eye contact thing of
Mm.
not
Holding.
looking away until another person looks away because you might find that even when you're just out day to day and you lock eyes with somebody, you quick like look away because you don't want to feel
Yeah.
awkward or uncomfortable. So to really put it in with why this makes sense for feminine energies because you're more connected to yourself, you're more connected to others, you're more connected to your confidence, and you're more present.
Yeah. I love that. It's like standing in your power, right? And recognizing that it's yours. I had one more that I wanted to share of the intuitive movement was something that I really, really connected with of just allowing yourself to put on like a song and just let your body move and sway in whatever way it wants to. You might end up with your arms in the air and moving your hips maybe, or you might even end up on the floor in like a nice tabletop position and just learning to connect with your body, right? And strengthening that intuition and that connection with yourself. So again, you can start to tap into that and start to trust it so much more, since our body is constantly sending us signals.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a powerful one to add on there is because what you're doing is really getting out of your head. So if you struggle,
Mm.
you're an overthinker,
Yeah.
you're getting out of your head and into your body.
Yeah. And so if you guys are having any issues with feeling confident and being able to step into that feminine energy, definitely take some of these tools and practices with you and know that, yeah, it probably is going to be uncomfortable at first, right? But that doesn't mean that it's wrong or it's bad or you can't do it. I know for me, it was really, really uncomfortable for a number of reasons, but the more that I stepped into that, the more that I stepped into my power, I was able to let go of that belief that feminine energy was a weakness that other people could control. And I had to realize that it was my superpower, right?
Mm.
So just want to thank our guests for coming on here with us today and sharing all of these wonderful ideologies about feminine and masculine energy. And is there anything else, Mary, that you wanted to share before we hopped off?
I would say all of this takes time too, right? I think a big part of when you're curious about feminine energy, you're gonna feel it. It's gonna like spark something in you, but let it unlock slowly and because that's again the like when I learned about all these feminine energy things, I'm like, I want to go do them all and try them all. And that's the masculine.
That's
It's
what
like,
I was gonna say. Yeah.
yeah. So like just allow yourself to be patient
Mhm.
with yourself. That's the number one thing as you start, continue on this journey of self-discovery. You're listening to this amazing podcast, so I know that you're somebody who really is taking the time to heal and learn and grow and connect with yourself. So just give yourself some patience.
Yes, absolutely. Patience and permission, right? You don't have to be strong all the time. It's okay to step into that softness and just be.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again so much for coming on here. This was such a treat. Um, Such a great connection that we both share, and I'm glad that we could share this with other people as well.
No, thank you, Gianna. It was awesome. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast.
Woo! Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for tuning in to Let That Shit Go, and hope to see you in the next episode.